All right, everybody. I am here with one of not just my favorite guys in the YouTube card hobby, but one of the greatest guys, the most well-liked and rooted for guys in the YouTube card hobby, and that is none other than Mr. Chris from Missouri. How are you, my friend?
Well, Orlando just threw something at the screen,
I
and
said one of. I
he's
said
over here
one of.
going like this. Okay, I am
Orlando,
doing great.
Orlando's a great guy too, but you and Orlando are two guys that are as universally well liked as pretty much anyone I can think of. So
That's thank you. Anytime I'm compared to Orlando, that's really good. That's a great thing. So awesome.
now, a very frequent guest on a lot of channels. You've been on my channel, I don't know, 2, 3 times, but I'm never going to get sick of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again at Strongsville, where I met you last year for the first time. Um, but short-winded, heavy on the air quotes, short-winded. I know my videos are long, but that's just because I am having fun and I don't want to, stop. And so it was like, well, who I haven't had on for the return after a little mini break from short-winded is I should have Chris on. Now, a lot of people know about your collection, and a lot of people know about the breadth of your collection, the depth of your collection. Uh, but I don't know how many people know a ton or how much they know about Chris the guy. So I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit more about Chris from Missouri, and then we're also going to throw an extra twist in here. You've got 20 questions for me, but I have 20 questions for you too. So we're just keeping things evolving here. Now, let me ask you, Chris. Very few people that I know have lived a life as broad, like has lived more of a life than you. You'll sit down with you and you'll go, I don't know if I told you this, but I used to be a college basketball coach. I don't know if I told you this. I used to be a principal. I don't know if I told you this, but I grew up in this place. Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Greasy Creek, Kentucky. That's a real name. Look it up. And I actually went back there with my mom this past year. First time I'd been back in a long time. But I grew up in a little piece of heaven called Lamont, Missouri, a quaint town of about 1,000 people, and it's really close to Whiteman Air Force Base. If any of your subscribers have heard of that.
Okay.
So I grew up there mainly, and I consider that my hometown. But I've lived in a couple different places, but that's where you could say I grew up. I don't know. Maybe I haven't grown up yet. Maybe I'm still growing up, so maybe I can't consider it that way.
Now I know you were a catcher, and I know you're a baseball guy, but you're also a basketball guy. Did you play both? But then I was texting you the other day and you said, oh yeah, when I was in school, I used to play soccer. And I'm like, what? You played soccer too? What were your sports? What was your thing growing up when you were a kid? Besides mowing lawns for money to buy baseball cards, what you played everything?
So I've learned on YouTube, don't stretch the truth or don't tell a lie, because you got a buddy or somebody that knows you're watching. So keep everything real. I was lucky enough to go to a school that maybe had 175 people to 200 in their high school, in their high school building, and I played. So we had my freshman year, we had 3 sports, and that was cross country, basketball, and baseball. And my favorite sport was basketball. As a young kid, I consider myself, I had talent as a little kid. Okay. When I got older, everybody caught up with me, athletic wise. I mean, I'm going to say I get a brag this time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm all
I
about
scored
it.
I scored 50 points in the 6th grade basketball game,
Oh my goodness.
and our team we scored 56, and we won. And I can remember it to this day because I bring it up when I'm around my best friends. That was we won 56-52, and I fouled out.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
but by the time I was a junior in high school, every one of my friends had caught up with me. Okay,
Mm.
everybody in my class athletically had caught up with me, and but basketball I was probably better at baseball, but I really love playing basketball, and it's something I did for the longest time. Then my sophomore year, we got a new basketball coach, and he was a great coach. He knew nothing about soccer, but since he was a first year basketball coach, he made everybody on the basketball team go out for soccer.
Mm.
And we were very good athletically, but there was a couple schools in our conference that had been playing soccer for 10, 15 years. So we finished second in our conference. And so athletically we were good, but we were a bunch of strong farm boys running out there, pushing around a bunch of soccer players. And then by the time when we got to be a junior and a senior, our basketball coach, people thought he was a great soccer coach, and he actually carried around on a clipboard "Soccer for Dummies." And but he was one of those guys. He didn't know a ton about soccer, but he got you to play hard,
Mm.
and we beat people to balls, and we weren't scared to get hurt. And so I played soccer, and soccer, basketball, and baseball. And
So, when you're collecting cards as a kid, did that influence like the cards that you were interested? Like, did you do much basketball card collecting as a kid?
none. As a young kid,
Really?
I couldn't afford them. I just the cards I got. I was a vintage collector right from the start, from my friends that were a little bit older than me, and me mowing yards. I opened up packs of baseball stuff, but I can't tell you when I got my first basketball card, and I know I got football cards before I got basketball cards.
Hmm.
And so, I have some basketball cards in my collection that I'm proud of, but they're iconic cards. So I to this day, I don't consider myself a basketball card collector.
Yeah. And is it um but because you became a basketball coach, right?
Right.
And so you became a basketball coach, so you obviously were into the the ins and outs of how the game worked, but that didn't transition or translate into any sort of card collecting for basketball. That's
No.
interesting.
So uh, I may have said this before, but I wanted to become a basketball coach because I wanted to be like my basketball coach. And
Hmm.
still to this day, we're really good friends. He's not much older than me. He was 22 when I was a sophomore, right? I mean, it was his first job ever, and I wanted to be like him. And I was interviewed when I never coached back at my hometown, even though I was offered many times over the last 20 years to, you know, to maybe to go take a coaching spot. But a reporter asked me in the town that I played a lot of baseball in, why did I not coach baseball more? I coached it a couple of years, like interim stuff, and I had a couple really good years. But my answer to him when he said, "Why don't you coach baseball and instead of basketball?" And I said, "Well, in basketball, if I'm playing against a team that has a 6'7" post down on the block, I can figure out a way to stop him. But if he's got a 6'7" guy on the mound throwing 90 miles an hour, there's nothing I can do about it."
Hmm.
And I just thought, but coaching basketball was just seemed more fun to me. Baseball practices seemed long. Um, I might have coached 6 years of baseball, but I really, really enjoy it. Basketball was what I enjoyed.
Yeah. My dad was a basketball coach, for 30 years.
I
Um,
did. I knew that.
yeah.
Now, see, I don't have a floor named after me. I might have a section of a floor named after me in the opposing team's bathroom, but I don't have the gym floor named after me like your dad does.
Yeah,
So,
if you're ever in Vacaville, California, and you go to Willis Jepson Middle School, and you go up and you look down at the court, it says Michael J. Miller Court. It's pretty darn cool. That was a very cool experience to be at the dedication and unveiling of that. I actually gave a speech that day at that, but
oh,
um,
sweet.
yeah, that was very cool memory, well deserved. I could go on and on about things that my dad did for his players far beyond just coaching them. But um, now let me ask you this, because I was talking to Molly, my daughter, my older daughter Molly, yesterday, and we were kind of talking. She was asking me, she's 19, so she's got curious about politics and different people running for different offices, and one of the things that we came to that we were talking about was generational wealth, and how to do things to incentivize those that come from humble beginnings to reach for success. And like you just said a second ago, yeah, I didn't have money for basketball cards. I couldn't afford them, and
No.
you're talking about coming from kind of humble beginnings, but then you become a high school teacher, a college coach, a principal, owning your own business. Like, what is that? And I know we're not even really talking about cards right now, but again, I'm interested in your cards, but I'm also interested in you. How do you what is the advice I should be giving my high school students? Because I work at a Title I school. It's basically an inner city school. A lot of these kids, if they go to college, they're the first person to go to college in their family. A lot of them, nobody in their families ever graduated from high school, literally. Even now in Sacramento, California,
Right.
what is your advice for people to overcome that adversity? And you can take it however you could take this any direction you want, but how do you go from humble beginnings, whether it be financially in your house or a humble beginning with a card collection where you don't have much cards and you see these guys on YouTube that have these amazing collections, and how do you get yourself to get in that spot? How do you get from humble to being, exceptional?
Um, Great question, and you're right. This could go a lot of ways, and so when I answer it, I hope I don't come out like a jerk. But I'm going to use a basketball term
Terminology.
terminology. There you go. Playing defense in basketball. If you want to get on the floor, you can be the best defensive player on a team, and you'll get on the floor. But defense is a want-to thing. You don't have to have a bit of skill. You'd be better if you're athletic or something like that. But it's a want-to thing, and I think when it came to me, I was a good listener. I kind of took things in, but I did not want. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have athletic kids, different things like that. But I did not want them to be poor. I My mom was the hardest, strongest person that I knew. She got me out of a situation, but her and my dad stayed married till the day, till he died. But um, I didn't have indoor plumbing, man, until I was like 8 years old,
Yeah.
and I never I think I was mature at a young age because I knew we were poor. I saw other kids and I played. I was around other kids and it didn't bother me. I mean, it didn't bother me, but I knew, you know, I knew I wanted to be successful. I didn't want that. I didn't want anything to hold me back, and I wanted to be, I wanted to be successful. Now, as far as the cards go, if you look at my cards, the first part, the best way to start out being a millionaire is start out with $999,000, right? And so I had a little old lady that paid me by cards, and I loved it. And so my first cards were, were old cards and vintage cards, but I played with them. But as I got older and kept collecting, I did not worry about saving up to try to get something super nice. If I saw a 49 Jackie Robinson, I'd look at it really quick. I'd look at it really quick, but if I saw the price, I'd walk on. I didn't dwell on, gosh, I really wish that I had enough money to buy that card, and now I got to settle for a Lou Aparicio. No, I'd walk by that Jackie Robinson and say, "Oh, that's a cool card. Someday I'm going to get that card. Oh, I can afford this Louis Aparicio. I can read up about him and learn about him, and that card would be more special than anything." If you look at my collection that I have, the dollar amount for my 300 best card, and I wish I could smart enough to push on it and tell you what it is. The dollar amount for my 300th best card in my collection is not too different from the 200th best card in my collection. And I have some iconic cards. I just don't mind. I don't try to figure out why I don't want a card. I just try to figure out why I want that card. And I think a mistake people make is they see Mike, baseball collector, who has a wonderful collection, have a 7 in a Mickey Mantle, and they say, "Man, I want a card as nice as Mike, or as nice." Pick a guy; it doesn't matter who. I look at that and say, "Oh, I love that card. I'm going to find me a card like that." I give a rat's rear end if it's a 7 or a 2 or whatever, So that's what I would say. And don't get frustrated. Just celebrate what you have. And if you're never satisfied, never satisfied in success is okay. Never satisfied in getting better is okay. But this is a hobby. This is a hobby. Enjoy what you get. And take the time to do that. You'll be better off.
A theme that I'm hearing you say without saying it is it does no good to feel sorry for yourself. It does no good to have self-pity. Instead of having self-pity, do something about it. And you had to have learned that somewhere, because like I'll have, I'll have a guest on, and the guest will have incredible cards. Darren Return to Collecting and I did a video the other day, and it was, our pickups from 2024. And some people will see that and go, "Cool, good for him. I'll never own any of those. Like, what good is it for me to see his museum cards?" And then some people will go, "Wow, that is awesome that he was able to add those cards." And I think that what you're saying is like, well, if you want it, then go mow lawns for it. If you want it, go get it. Don't look at something else. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I feel like I'm hearing you say, is just don't feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah. If it's important to you, whatever it is, if you say, "Oh, he got that job because he has a better education than I do," well, fix that. You can find a way to fix that. If collecting cards, I just think it's that important to you where it's bringing a smile on your face and that kind of stuff. As long as it's not hurting your family, as long as it's not keeping your kids from doing something they love. Kids come first to me, right? I mean, you're going to spend money on that because, at least I am, because it's a little bit more important than my, than my card collecting. Even though I probably like my Patrick Mahomes Donruss more than I like my son, but just if it's important to you, you'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean, you'll figure it out. It might take you a while, but how long are you going to be doing this? I mean, you're not old enough. You're in your mid 40s. You're not old enough right now to have an exit strategy. Now, you might come up with an exit strategy if you start liking model trains, and that's more important to you. So now, but just anything in life, you need to work hard. And if it's and talking hobby stuff, and that is a little bit different, because again, you and we are not going to arm wrestle over an Al Oliver rookie card, right? I mean, it's not. I don't want that card any worse than you want it, or even a 52 tops Mickey Mantle. But if you want Darren's kind of collection, and by the way, when he showed his top cards, I got more texts and phone calls from friends that are YouTubers and friends that are not, saying, "Wow, did you see that stuff?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, I had to watch it with sunglasses on, because now I got to go to some surgery and help with my eyeballs. That stuff was so hot."
What when you say at the end of all of your videos, it's just a hobby, collect what you like, and I think that some people might hear that and go, "Oh, there's his tagline." But when you actually think about what you're saying there, I think that it's such a deep statement that has so much truth to it. And you and I talked on the phone the other day about, there are people who collect differently. And the beauty of collecting is that there isn't a right way or a wrong way to do it. And the only wrong way to do it is to do it where it's not resulting in joy for the person doing it. As long as you are getting joy out of it, then you're doing it right. And we both probably see other things that people buy and go, "Why would he do that?" But it doesn't matter why he did that. The only thing that matters is that he did it and it made him happy. I mean, what is it about how when we see other people and how they do it, that many of us are just wired to judge it against our value system and how we collect as they're doing it wrong? Like, why can't we just say that guy collects that way? It's not how I collect, but that's okay. And I probably come across at times, Chris, of sounding that way myself. Like, I probably go, "No, don't do that. That's a mistake. Everybody's making the same mistake." And what I'm saying is for me, it's a mistake. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's, why are we making the mistake, or why are you making the mistake? It's different, and we all have different things that we value about it. Why do you think that we do that?
Well, there's nothing nothing worse in YouTube for me than hearing people. That gets me riled up more than anything else. When I'm around some buddies at a card shop or something, and I'm friends with them, and somebody will ask me, "Do you collect? Do you collect new stuff?" And I instinctively, I always say, "No, my voice has changed, and I've become a man a few years ago," something like that.
Sure.
But I get riled up when people are sitting in the panel or something like that saying, "That is the dumbest thing to do. You're wasting your money. Why do you grade cards? It's a scam." My answer should be, and if I'm ever on a panel, I'm going to say, "Well, didn't I tell you?" And they're going to say no, and I'm going to say, "Because it must be none of your damn business what I do." I don't care. It makes me smile. I was at a card show. I was at a card show in Kansas City, and a girl came up to me, and her name was Finley. And she was excited. She's at a card show. I said, "Who do you collect?" And her dad, I mean, her dad couldn't have been any prouder of her. Just looking at her, he gets to take his daughter to a card show. And if she would have said, "I collect Cabbage Patch dolls," watching her, she didn't say that, by the way. She said, "I collect Aaron Judge and Mickey Mantle." I was like, "Whoa, okay." And she knew a lot about cards, but by watching Dad's face and stuff and how his everything glowed, he said they were going to Atlanta to go do a kids trade with Jeff Wilson.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not a big Jeff Wilson fan when he talks about what people should collect, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not anybody fan that tells people what they should collect. She got to trade with Jeff Wilson. She sent me a note, or I got a video of her making a trade face to face with Jeff Wilson.
Hmm.
Dad doesn't collect the shiny stuff, but I tell you what, if he had it, he would have spent any amount of money to make that little moment for her happen. Now, I'm not going to tell him, "Boy, how stupid are you?" Right? He's smiling ear to ear, and we get this stuff. And I collect nothing like Filmington. I collect nothing like Filmington. I'm not. Big Scott and I are kind of alike, but there's a group of those guys that are friends. That are friends. And we're sitting here, and it goes. I know it goes both ways sometimes, but I hope people don't hear that from me, because Filmington's not stupid. He's one of the coolest and smartest guys on us YouTuber guys. But we're trying to tell them, we're trying to make what they do come and fit with what they do. Here, come sit at our table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then they show us a bright and shiny card, and we go, oh, nice, and not show. I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, I don't want some card, some new stuff, in my collection. I don't want this Archie Manning's son or grandson card. I wouldn't pay $40,000 for it. But if somebody does, and it brings a smile to their face, it's worth it. If they lose money, so what? But I seriously mean collect what you like. And what I like is I like slabbed cards. So, there's reasons I do that. I like vintage cards. There's reasons I do that. But me telling somebody else what they should collect, that's not any of my business. It's not any of my business. And, if they ask me for advice, I'm going to give it to them. But I know nothing about that lane that they're in, But you know what? That doesn't mean I don't want to learn about it. I have Mauricio. Mauricio is a buddy of mine that sits with me at shows. He speaks. He's trilingual. I mean, he's a pretty smart dude. But I can't believe I can't believe I haven't learned Spanish by now, so I could even communicate better with him. I want to learn more about this stuff so I can communicate better with that group. So if it's, I don't want to say, "Hey, collect what Chris likes." You'd be a lot smarter,
and I think that I probably at times don't do a good enough job of articulating that, when I'm sharing opinions, I try to say, for me, this is what I think, this is what I do. And at times I probably come across as dogmatic, is that if you're not doing things that way, then you're making. Now, there are certain things that are riskier. If somebody was going to open a box of Prism football that just came out, like, that's a riskier use of your money than buying.
I'm going to interrupt you there. That is true. That is great. But what if they like that adrenaline rush?
Yeah.
What if that's part of the reason? They might drop out of a hot air balloon. I'm going to say that's stupid, but I'm not going to call them stupid. That's what they might get the rush out of doing.
Yeah.
And it is risky, but what if that's part of their deal? I want to risk that.
Well, what I mean is, I think sometimes the lens that I look through is a financial risk analysis tool, and I see doing a box of Prism as a risky endeavor. And some people would say, well, whether I spend, $500 on a box of this, or I spend $500 to go skydiving with my girlfriend, it's the adrenaline rush of 10 minutes that I get the kick out of. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad use of money if you're doing it for the adrenaline rush. But in a risk analysis of preserving your finances for long time wealth, it's probably higher on the spectrum, which is the way that I am wired. Is that I look through at everything in life as a as a cost benefit analysis, generally with financial implications being a major component of that. And so I don't explain that. I don't have that disclaimer at the beginning. Well, just so you guys know, a lot of my opinions are about, I don't do that. And I just think it's great. You've talked several times with me about how your wife loves hiking, you know, and
Yeah.
she would go on a trip and she'd love to go hiking. And one of my favorite videos that you did is you were like sitting on a rock, were at some spot that you guys went hiking at, and you were sitting there on the rock while she was while she was hiking, because you were like, "I'm good. I'm gonna record this now," and it's like some people go hiking. Why would anybody want to go hiking? And other people would go, hiking is one of the most glorious things that you could possibly do. And it's like, I've used the example with my daughter Molly, who loves to read. She loves to read, and the stuff that she loves to read, I don't have any interest in reading. But I've literally walked by as she's reading a book, and she's literally reading with a big smile on her face because she's so happy. And who is anybody to say, "Nah, you're reading the wrong stuff," because she is experiencing so much joy. And I think that that's something, one of the things that this community does is, if you're open to different perspectives, you can become um, a better person. And I think that we all have different perspectives on where we came from, and where we are, and how we got here. And I think that some of your past allows you to see joy that other people are getting, that I might go, "Why? What are you doing that for?" And then when you talk about it on your channel and I watch it, or you call me on the phone, or you text me, it opens my mind to things that I probably otherwise wouldn't have been considering. And I think that's something that you bring to the table. And it might have to do with your upbringing, and it might not have to do with your upbringing. But I think that it's a great perspective. And I think that your tagline that you say is something that I do think we all have to keep in mind. And I have no doubt that there's somebody listening to this right now and goes, "Oh, yes, there is a wrong way to collect." It's that way. Like, that there is, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But it it's a hobby, and going on a hike is a hobby, and reading a book is a hobby, and getting an adrenaline rush from opening a hobby box is a hobby, and going and buying singles at, the card show is a hobby. And they're all different hobbies, and we can't be valuing them. And I probably am not as good as I should be at sharing that perspective, which I think that you are.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, you know, it's the tagline could also be collect what you like and how you like,
Mm.
and don't worry about what somebody else says, because it's your collection. And speaking of my wife, just real quick, she got me to participate in a half marathon this year. And
How'd
yeah,
that
yeah.
go?
Well, I did pretty good. She did that thing in her best time, and I sat there in a chair at one of the turns, and I was pointing for which way to go. So yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's really impressive, Chris. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Now, what I usually do is I usually go about 20 to 30 minutes where I kind of talk to my short-winded guest, and then we do the 20 questions. Now, this time we're doing it differently. You've got 20 questions for me. I've got 20 questions for you. Now, what those of you at home don't know is that we don't actually have a timer on the screen right now. So what the timer that I use is actually the timer counting down on the recording. And then after the fact, I start the timer for the screen. So everybody at home will be able to see the timer. But Chris, you and I will not be able to see the timer. So
Okay.
as you're going through this, I'll let you know how this goes and how this turns out. Now we got to keep in mind this is a speed game, right? We don't want to be, this is to prevent us from getting long-winded. Now, I love you, Chris, but both of us are fairly long-winded. So you get a couple of long-winded guys together, and we could go double fail on this, but we're going to still give it our best shot. I will say that my questions that I made for you, I think I've put you in a position that I think you're going to be successful. I really am hopeful.
So, I'm not the smartest guest that you've had on your show, but I'm a damn sight brighter than Mookie. And I went back and, I'm not going to have any 3-part questions with, but
That was a setup. That was a complete setup by Mr. Chilson.
oh, he's
But
good. He's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So,
All right. So here's what we're going to do. You are going to go ahead and go first.
okay.
So whenever you're ready, I'm going to write down the time and I will keep track of how I do. Don't feel like you have to respond to my answer. So if you say, Greg, who do you like? Me, and I just say the other person's name, then don't feel like you have to say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Just go straight to the next question. Okay.
Okay.
So whenever go ahead.
You're going to get more people respond. There's going to be people out there that are bullies that's going to make fun of how I read. Me reading with my glasses like this is getting more comments on all my videos.
So I may have told a couple of people that my guest for the relaunch of Short-Winded was going to be you. And they said, I can't wait to watch him read the questions. That was literally a response that I got. So
great.
They're ready for you, and they are bullies. Whenever you're ready, you start.
Okay. When was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh my gosh. It's like a riddle.
When did you try something for the first
yesterday. Oh, tried something? I legit almost fell off the roof yesterday for the first time. So I'm going with that.
Okay, what hobby topic gets you riled up?
People who say that when you say PSA is bad, they get mad at you for saying that. Or if you say SGC is bad, they can't be open-minded to the other side, SGC or PSA.
Okay, most iconic coach, any sport?
John Wooden.
If you could win a major in a golf tournament, what major would it be?
Oh, the Masters.
Greatest sportscaster call?
Do you believe in miracles?
Mine too. If there is a before and after event in your life, what is the event? I got a good one for you, but
it's got to be being a dad.
Okay. What's your superstition?
When I go golfing, everything has to be in my left pocket.
Greatest or favorite sports rivalry?
Yankees, Red Sox.
If you had the power to change the outcome of any professional game.
Luis Gonzalez's Texas leaguer hit over second base to cost the Yankees the World Series.
Okay. Are you a lyrics listener or an instrumental listener?
Instrumental, 100%. That's a great question.
My wife, I'm that way too. If I brought you a box of everything you've lost in your life and gave it to you, what would you look for first?
Oh man. I'm having writer's block. I don't know. I don't know if I've lost anything that matters that much to me. I'm going to pass and come back.
Okay. What is your go-to dish?
Pizza.
Okay. In your opinion, biggest sports scandal?
The trash cans from the Astros.
Your personal greatest sporting moment?
Game-winning hit in the Little League City Championship.
Who's a YouTuber that people should know that don't know much?
That's such a tough question. I'll say Brent Richards.
Okay. What is the hardest for you to say? I need help, sorry, or I love you?
Probably sorry.
Are you starting to hate on the Kansas City Chiefs because they're winning so much?
Yes.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
What would be the title of your autobiography?
Goober.
What game or sport do you believe that you can beat any and all of your YouTuber friends?
Pickleball.
If I
Yes,
brought
you
you
too,
a
Dave
box,
Blue Jacket. Go ahead.
if I brought you a box of everything you lost, what would you look for first?
My Sega Genesis.
Bingo, that's 20, baby.
Okay, hold on.
Can I?
Let me do some math. I made it. I made it. That was 420. I had 40 seconds left, dude.
Okay, I got a serious question, and it's not a got you. Seriously,
Okay.
do you want me to wait till you're done asking me questions?
No,
Then I
just
ask
do it.
you just
Just do it.
just in case you ask me or give me hard ones because you're pissed off that I asked you this question.
No.
I didn't know how to phrase this because because you and I differ on a few things, right? We know we differ on a
Well,
few things.
I know you hate Greg Nettles, but
No, not at
I don't hate
not
George
at all.
Brett. Okay.
So I was going to ask you, since is your buddy Matt Manning, is he, is she throwing a spitball or that kind of stuff because the rest of your top two players are cheaters? Now what? I wasn't going to ask you that, but here's my question I was going to ask you, and I think you'd be surprised. Every one of these questions I asked myself, right?
Okay.
I only thought it'd be fair if I asked myself.
Okay.
But my 21st question: if Matt Manning came to you and wants to get back in Major League Baseball, and Roger Clemens was over there at your house, and Roger Clemens said, "Why don't you juice? It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you recover from injury." Would you nod your head yes, or would you tell Roger to, hey, keep that to yourself? That's serious. I was going to ask you that. It's not a gotcha question, really, because you'd be surprised how I would answer.
I love how you immediately go with the assumption that Roger would tell him to juice. Here's what I believe. I believe that there is doing things. I believe that when you do something and it's tainted. So let me give you an example. If I cheated on a test, in class, and I got an A on it. I wouldn't feel that good about myself.
Right.
But if I got an A on a test because I stayed up all night studying, the feeling and the euphoria of getting the A on that test that you worked your tail off for is so much greater that it's better to fail. It's like better to have loved and lost than have not loved. It's better to have failed and not achieve success in exchange for the times that you achieve success the right way, that it feels so much better. So I would 100% tell Matt not to do that. Um, Matt,
Would you
Matt,
have done it? Would you have done it?
would I have juiced?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be in. I would have. I think I'd have done anything. I think I'd have done almost anything to play in the major leagues. You know.
Well, let me tell you, I don't even know what I should and shouldn't say here, but Matt, this is actually true, and both of them would, I think, admit it if I had them on the channel. But Matt's high school pitching coach was a high level college pitcher and pitched in the minors for a couple years, and he juiced.
Okay.
And he a couple years ago had testicular cancer, and believes that his testicular cancer is a result of his juicing, in addition to some of the side effects he still has as a result of juicing. And he has been very clear with Matt uh, about how bad juicing is and how much he regrets it. So I'll say that. Would I have juiced? Absolutely not, for the same reason that I just stated. It's like, I'll give you an example. I played high school on the high school golf team. I was a competitive golfer growing up, and there was a kid that was a known cheater on the team, and he would cheat in matches, he would cheat in tryouts, he would cheat in qualifying. And I have to believe that that guy, when he got to play in matches, it didn't feel as good as it did for the
Agreed.
guy who earned it.
Yeah.
So I am a guy, Chris, and you know, for better or worse, I'm really hard on myself. I'm really, really hard on myself, and I beat myself up continually. And so when I am out and about in life, uh, I always know about myself. Don't do that because you're going to be mad at yourself, and that is always going on in my background. And I was a I was the kid. I was the most straight laced kid growing up. My parents never had to worry about me coming home drunk. To this day, I've never done a drug in my life. I'm just I because I would beat myself up so bad that I wouldn't be able to live with myself. And
Sure.
that is a strength, but at times it also feels like a weakness that I'm that hard on myself. So there you go.
Thanks
Now,
for answering that. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
of course, of course. All right, so here we're gonna get going here in just a sec. 20 questions for you. I think I've set you up for success. So here we go. Ready?
Yes.
Hold on. I got to write down the time when we start, so I just make sure that we got it. All right. What's the best sports movie of all time?
Gosh. The Natural.
Who do you like more, me or my dad?
Um, I like your dad because that's who you're going to become too.
What's the best card in the hobby?
1949 Leafed Satchel Paige.
Is tuna good or gross?
Good.
Why did your wife marry you?
Because of my good looks. Um, uh, I can't say good looks or money. She got in trouble. I'm going to say she got in trouble with the law, and that was her sentence.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan, don't ask that again.
You can move to any other state right now. Where do you move?
Texas.
Hmm. Is PSA a sham?
No.
Hmm. What is your favorite book of all time?
Gosh. Storm. Wyatt Storm, written by a good friend of mine, a series written by W.L. Ripley. I don't read much. I love sports books, but W.L. Ripley.
You can only watch one YouTube channel moving forward. Which do you choose?
Mike Moynihan. That way on Showcase Showdown, I can see how I age.
What's your drink of choice?
Gin and Diet 7-Up.
What's the best set of all time?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with 1949 Leaf.
Who is the one player who should be removed from the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Oh gosh. Ray Schalk. Ray Schalk is a catcher, old catcher. I'm not going to say who I said today, but I'm going to go with Ray Schalk.
Who is the one player who should be added to the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Lou Whitaker.
What's the best TV show of all time?
Cheers. Tied with Welcome Back, Kotter.
Is PSA good or bad for the hobby?
Good.
You're on death row and you get your last meal. What do you have?
Ham and beans and cornbread. Because if it gives me gas, everybody around me is going down with me.
What's the best? What's the best movie of all time?
Great Escape.
What's your greatest accomplishment?
Sports wise, I've had 2 holes in one. Life wise, getting 2 kids.
What is the one card in your collection that you'll leave me when you die?
Whichever one you want, but I know what you want, but probably the 49 Leaf that I'm going to pick up in Strongsville.
I look forward to it. And that puts you, my friend, at exactly 4 minutes, which makes you a winner.
Hey, all right. All right.
Go ahead.
Tell me what you thought, because there's a couple things I think now, thinking back, I would change.
Yeah. Tell me what you would change. But yeah, I have the same question twice.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had to change it on the fly. So I put what is the best TV show twice, and you'd think that it wouldn't have been when the lights, camera, action was rolling that I would have figured that out. But tuna is good, huh?
I like tuna. You probably didn't know this. This is one of the other ones. I owned a restaurant for about 8 years and was a cook, and it was a barbecue restaurant, and I got to where I could not stand ribs and brisket and pulled pork, and for lunch I'd get a tuna salad that I'd make myself, and I have a really cool recipe for tuna salad.
Okay.
And when I eat well, I like grilled tuna with a honey glaze on it. So, and not too many people would eat tuna like that. So,
what's the real answer on why your wife married you?
because I told. Are you getting me? Are you want me to say this quick story or what?
You tell whatever you want. You don't have to tell anything.
Mind control, baby. Because she's from Black. She
You just said
my,
mind control.
mind control. Listen, think positive. Get it in your mind because when I first came to this town of Glasgow where I live now, I wanted to be a basketball coach, head basketball coach, and I wanted to have tall kids because I believe the only reason I didn't play much, I didn't play in college, is because I was laterally challenged, and I saw that she was I saw her class teacher. She was a sophomore in college playing basketball. I saw that she was close to 6 foot tall. I hadn't met her yet, hadn't seen her yet, just saw a picture of her, picture of the team, and she was the all-time leading scorer there. I had a girl in my class that had the same last name as her, and I kneeled down by her the first day of school, and I said, "Are you Shannon's sister?" And she said, "No, I'm her cousin." And I was so glad because this girl was like 4'10", see, and I wanted tall kids. So she goes, why? And I said, because I'm going to marry her. And I left that evening. I got a call from Shannon, who did not know me. And she was not happy that I told her cousin that I was going to marry her. And then that, why are you telling people that we're getting married? And she kind of chewed me out. And after she's about done on the phone, I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "What's the size of your ring finger?" And she hung up the phone. And then, 6 months later, she called me and asked me out on a date.
She called you and asked you out on a date. To go from, and you've told me the rest of the story too, by the way.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, but you did.
I do remember. Yeah.
And to go from starting off on the wrong foot that badly to her asking you out, that my friend is impressive. That is very, very impressive.
Yeah. Alcohol was not involved either. So, but no, I love telling that story, and I really love telling it when she's around.
Yeah, I'll bet. All right, my friend. Well, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you. It's always an honor to have you on the channel. And 2 victories in one episode is a first. So
take that, Mookie Wilson. Take that, Mookie.
History has been made. So to all of you out there, I hope that we got to know the Mr. Chris from Missouri a little bit more, pull back the curtain a little bit, and learned a little bit more about this guy who I'm proud to call my friend. And I'm very happy that one of the things that my YouTube channel has resulted in is having new friends in my life like you, my friend.
And I just want to say I really admire what your channel has done. I've respect the growth of your channel. I respect the smartness of your subscribers. And it's hard for me to talk and get out. It's hard for me to talk about myself. It really is, even though, I spurt out stuff, and I appreciate you for giving me the microphone to be able to tell my story. Really, well,
it was an honor to learn more about you, and I look forward to more conversations down the road. Thank you to everybody for listening, and leave your comments as to your favorite answer to our questions.